My name is Sophia, Dr. Sophia Melanson Ricciardone. I'm a recent PhD graduate, and I am currently with the Rutherford Lab here at McMaster University. And today I'm going to talk about some really interesting research that I'm conducting in partnership with another PhD student in the lab. His name is Vinnie Kohler. And we are looking at toxic masculinity in a very new way. We're looking at it on TikTok as a potential predictor of harsh and unpredictable living conditions, and to understand what the consequences of those conditions might be for young men. So we base our hypothesis on a theory called life history theory. And in humans, what life history theory posits is that in harsh and unpredictable living conditions, we are more likely to enter into puberty much earlier. And there's another compatible phenomenon that we are examining called young male syndrome. And young male syndrome is essentially some behaviors, common behaviors that men exhibit between the ages of 15 and 35 during their reproductive years that involve three categories of behavior. Hypersexualization of women, high risk taking, and aggression. And so our big question is, if young men are entering into puberty early and displaying these behaviors at a much earlier age, A, does that predict the potential for young fatherhood? And B, how does that affect their life chances and their overall well-being? And so we're looking at areas in the US where life is both harsh and unpredictable. And we posit that this will probably bring about this young male syndrome and these categorical patterns of behavior, and that this will likely also result in young fatherhood. And if that is the case, then we know that young fatherhood is likely to perpetuate the cycle of harsh and unpredictable living conditions. And the consequence of this is that this increases the chance. So if you're entering puberty early and you're exhibiting these behaviors, if you're taking more risks and you are hypersexualizing the opposite sex, and if you're exhibiting more aggression, you have an increased chance of sustaining serious to fatal injuries, increased chance of incarceration, and decreased chance of cultivating rewarding and satisfying romantic relationships. And young fatherhood has its own consequences, of course, as we know. So decreased opportunities in life, so university, upward mobility in society, and job opportunities. Lack of maturity decreases the likelihood that the father will remain in the child's life, ergo decreased life satisfaction. So the way we're going to test this hypothesis is kind of novel. I've never studied social media in this way before, but it's quite productive. We did a search on TikTok because we know that young people occupy TikTok, that platform, most prevalently. And we're hoping to recruit about 1,500. It's not necessarily feasible, but that's our goal, is 1,500 participants, young fathers that have posted on their TikTok using the hashtag #TeenDads. We are then going to survey all of these fathers, hoping to return a good number of surveys. And the surveys are basically measuring for this hypermasculinity scale. So measures of high risk, hyperobjectification of women, and aggression. And when we look at regions across the US that exhibit harshness and unpredictability, we're looking at things because of contemporary conditions that are socially constructed that create this harshness and unpredictability. Things like high cost of living and low income, high job loss and turnover for unpredictability, high single parentage and teen pregnancy, and high mortality and morbidity rates. And so what we're going to do is send out these surveys, and we're going to ask them a series of questions based on the hypermasculinity inventory. And this will give us a hypermasculinity overall score. And we're not only just taking them at their word, and this is asking them for information about their mindsets and behaviors 5 years prior to conceiving the child. We're also going to do a content analysis. So we have 3 undergraduate students for whom we're very grateful, who will be doing a content analysis, so watching all of the videos posted by our participants, and also giving it a score, their behaviors a score, based on high hypermasculinity or low hypermasculinity. And then we'll collate those results, and we anticipate, hopefully, our findings reveal that where we see high hypermasculinity scores, we're also going to see that they reside in regions where the living conditions in contemporary life are both harsh and unpredictable. Thank you.